Meeting. Can I hear?
Good afternoon. Welcome to the court's first virtual swearing-in ceremony of 2022. Please keep your audio muted throughout the ceremony. If you wish to follow the speaker, you may want to set your view to speaker view. If you would like to access live transcript, Under the live transcript button in the toolbar, please select Show Subtitles. If you would like access to American Sign Language, please direct message Madison Welling. Mr. Julio Castillo, Clerk of the Court of Appeals, will offer opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Dade, and welcome to all of you and to your families. This is very exciting. I just wanted to mention a few things. Again, wanted to mention what Mr. Dade said, and that is please put yourself on mute. Second, I will be asking you to stand and raise your hand when I read the oath. During the oath, it uses the word swear. If any of you object to that, I will ask you to substitute the word affirm in its place. Again, thank you for participating. Congratulations. And Mr. Dade, I turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. The courtroom clerk will now open the courtroom.
All persons having business before the Honorable Associate Judge now presiding over the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, draw near and give your attention. God save this United States in this honorable court. This honorable court is now in session. Please come to order.
Thank you, Mr. Dickerson. The Honorable Judge Ruiz will offer introductory remarks.
Sorry, I committed the first sin of Zoom meetings and I did not unmute myself, but I shall do that now. I should know better. I am Vanessa Ruiz. Good afternoon, everybody. I am a senior judge of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, and on behalf of all of my colleagues on the court, I am pleased to welcome you, the prospective new members of the bar, as well as your friends and families, to this virtual bar admission ceremony, the first of 2022. Generally, when we come to court, it is to hear cases, and it can be obviously very serious and sobering time. So it is truly a pleasure to preside over a joyful occasion like this swearing-in ceremony. And I can happily inform you that by the time we finish here today, you will all have prevailed in your petitions to this court. The Court of Appeals, as you might know, is a relatively new court. We were created by Congress in 1970 to review appeals from the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, as well as administrative agencies of the District of Columbia. We also oversee all aspects of the District of Columbia Bar. And that is the function that brings us to today. Today, we have a motion that will be made on your behalf by Ms. Ilea Welch, who is a staff attorney for the Committee of Admissions. Ms. Welch, if you could please present your motion.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Committee on Admissions of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, I, Ilea Welch, staff attorney for the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, move the admission to the bar of this court the applicants whose names appear on the attached list and who have satisfied the requirements for admission to the bar of this court. On behalf of the Committee on Admissions, I certify that to the court that these applicants possess the necessary qualifications for admission to the bar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Welch. While it may appear that I'm giving this motion only a cursory review at this time, I received the motion before today's ceremony and read it carefully. Plus, I know that the Committee on Admissions has devoted a great deal of time to your applications and would not have put your name on this list if anything were out of order. So I am pleased on behalf of the court to grant the motion to admit today's candidates as members of the District of Columbia Bar. I will now recognize Mr. Castillo, our clerk of the court, and ask that he please administer the oath to the candidates for admission. Mr. Castillo?
Thank you, Judge Ruiz. Please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Rachel Catanese,
do solemnly swear that as a member of the bar of this court, I
You're on mute, sir.
my apologies, like Judge Ruiz, my apologies. Please state, I state your name. Do solemnly swear that as a member of the bar of this court,
Dorsey, do solemnly swear as a member of
bar of this court,
I will demean myself uprightly and according to law, and that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America. Please be seated, and my apologies again.
Thank
Thank
you, Mr.
you.
Castillo. The Honorable Judge
Thank
Ruiz
you.
will now give judicial remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Dade, and thank you, Mr. Castillo. And congratulations to the newest members of the Bar of the District of Columbia. I could see a number of you as you were standing up, holding your hand up and taking the oath of admission, and you all look great. And it is really a pleasure to welcome you to our bar and to our court. It is a tradition that at these swearing-in ceremonies, one judge, the presiding judge, will make some remarks, and today that is me. So I will not keep you too long, but there are some things I do want to convey to you on behalf of the court. And of course, the first is, now that you have been sworn in, is to give you a warm welcome and extend congratulations as you begin your practice in the District of Columbia. You are all our new fellow members of the DC Bar, judges also. We are members as well of the bar. And I also want to congratulate and welcome those who are watching on YouTube to share the moment with someone who just took the oath. Because of public health measures, of course, we are required to do this virtually at this time so that everybody's health can be protected. But I also want to welcome you, even if virtually, to the historic courthouse, which is the home of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals. And I do hope that you will come and visit us when it is safer to do so. It is one of the oldest public buildings in the District of Columbia, originally commissioned as the Washington's City Hall in 1820. And it was designed by the architect George Hadfield. From that time, 1820 to today, the building where we are housed has played many roles. It has been a federal and a District of Columbia courthouse as the judiciary in this jurisdiction evolved. It was the U.S. Circuit Court, U.S. District Court. It was a Supreme Court for the District of Columbia, the U.S. Court of Appeals, and the DC Court of General Session, which was a trial court. It functioned as a hospital and held prisoners of war during the Civil War. The building has housed several notable residents. Among them, a district attorney that you might know for his other pursuits, Francis Scott Key, who wrote our national anthem. He had an office in the District of Columbia courthouse. Federal Douglas's office as U.S. Marshal for DC was in the building, the historic courthouse where the District of Columbia Court of Appeals is housed today. Theodore Roosevelt's office, when he was head of the Civil Service Commission, was there. More recently, the building has housed offices for the Public Defender Service and the DC Attorney General. The building as it exists now was renovated and rededicated as the DC Court of Appeals in 2009. In addition to some of the notable people who have been in the court, had resided or had offices in the court, it was the setting for several significant cases and trials. In 1849, Daniel Drayton, an abolitionist, an orchestrator of the largest recorded escape attempt by slaves aboard the schooner the Pearl, you might remember there was a movie about it, he was prosecuted in the building. In 1867, John Surratt was tried for conspiracy to assassinate President Lincoln. And President Lincoln's statue, when you come visit us, you will see, was erected outside the courthouse in 1868. And it still stands there. It is facing Indiana Avenue, which is now considered the back of the courthouse. The front faces East Street. In 1925, there was a trial involving the Teapot Dome scandal. I'm sure you've heard of that, one of the biggest bribery scandals in US history. And the Secretary of Interior at the time, he was convicted of a felony and in prison. So that's the history of our building. So we are a fairly new court, but we're housed in a building that has great historical significance. Most of you who are being admitted today, I am told, took the DC bar exam, also virtually. I'm sure that was a new experience for many. And so this is your first admission to practice after years of studying hard in law school and for the bar exam, going through the application process, and probably after having accumulated a substantial debt for education loans. Your hard work has paid off. And although this marks the end of the first chapter of your legal career, it's really opening the door to your practice as a lawyer, as a member of the District of Columbia Bar. Taking the oath that you just took and listening to its words, not only with your head, but also internalizing its meaning, is a good reminder of what it means to be admitted to the practice of law. And I'd like you to think about the words that you just uttered. I also want to tell you about the bar of which you are now a part. Notwithstanding its small geographical size, the District of Columbia has one of the largest bars in absolute numbers in the country, over 100,000. It is certainly the largest on a per capita basis. Ours is a diverse bar, both in terms of its membership and the areas of practice in which its members engage. This court, with the assistance of several committees and disciplinary counsel, has the authority and the responsibility to pass on the admission and the professional conduct of all lawyers in the District of Columbia. We admit lawyers who are qualified, such as today's distinguished group. We also, unfortunately, sometimes have to suspend and disbar lawyers who do not live up to the ethical standards of the rules of professional conduct. It's always a sad, though necessary measure to protect the public and clients. From this vantage point, I can tell you that the practice of law in this city is probably one of the most varied and exciting in the country. Some of you in this virtual room of ours will practice in law firms, from small to large international firms, or in government, be it local or federal, or in trade associations or consulting firms. Some of you will be with public interest groups or in private business. Some will be litigators or transactional attorneys or engage in an analysis and policy work. Some of you will practice law in the legislative arena. Some of you will find your practice and continue with it for a long time. But others of you, because of developing interests, your own developing interests, or because of changes in the legal market, will shift your legal practice, perhaps more than a few times. I hope that all of you will take advantage of the size and the diversity of our bar and the variety of opportunities in the District of Columbia for legal work, but also for service to our community. You come to practice in the District of Columbia, the nation's capital, at a time that questions government and its institutions. This includes the courts and the judicial system. The careful and fair application of law by courts and the integrity of the lawyers who practice before them are critical. Remember the oath you took today and the responsibility it imposes on each one of you as a member of our bar to help instill public confidence in the judicial system by your actions in each case that you handle, every paper that you file, every court appearance that you make, and whenever you give advice to a client. Remember also that you are being admitted to practice in the District of Columbia. It's a vibrant community, and real people live and work here. And real people have real needs here, including the need for legal services, for tutoring, and for mentoring. In this connection, I want to remind you of Rule 6.1 of the Rules of Professional Responsibility. I'm sure you know it well. But your conduct as a member of the DC Bar must be guided by those rules, including this one. And I will just read the first sentence of Rule 6.1. A lawyer should participate in serving those persons or groups of persons who are unable to pay all or a portion of reasonable attorney's fees or who are otherwise unable to obtain counsel. There was a resolution adopted by the DC Court's Judicial Conference as well as by the Judicial Conference of the DC Circuit, which specifies what this professional obligation entails. And it is that each lawyer should accept one court-appointed or devote at least 50 hours of pro bono legal advice each year to an indigent or disadvantaged client. Or if that is not feasible, to make a financial contribution of $750 or 1% of earned income to organizations that provide pro bono services. I suggest that you do both. The need is great. Many persons with pressing legal needs go without legal representation. A shockingly high percentage have no choice but to represent themselves in landlord and tenant court, over 80%. Many have to navigate the system without a lawyer in cases of domestic violence, cases involving their families. And this in a community which, as I mentioned earlier, has the highest number of lawyers on a per capita basis in the country. Many of these needs are in areas within your practice, and they will be familiar to you. But you could decide to take on a case in an area that you're not familiar with. There are programs that will teach you what you need to know, so your pro bono work will be up to par with your billed work, your paid work. And that is as it should be. Those of you who have language skills are sorely needed. I have been addressing new members of our bar for 25 years, over 25 years at this point, and I invariably talk about pro bono service because the need is so great. I would like to mention several items from the most recent report of the DC Access to Justice Commission, which was created by this court to bring together judges, members of the bar, legal service providers, academics, and community representatives to tackle the lack of legal representation and other obstacles that hinder access to court and other recourse designed to protect important rights to shelter, education, physical safety, health, and family. We live in such a thriving city of professional and even high-powered individuals that we tend to forget that not all our neighbors are participating in that life. As a report, Delivering Justice, this is a report of the DC Access to Justice Commission, and you can access it online, reminds us of the following facts. Over 100,000 DC residents live in poverty, and they're more likely to experience civil legal problems because poverty itself, of course, impedes their ability to address and recover from life's knocks. The challenges of poverty are compounded by other life circumstances that create additional barriers for thousands. Over 70,000 district residents are 65 years old or older. Nearly 41,000 are limited English proficient. Tens of thousands live with a disability. 15% are immigrants who may be in a very vulnerable status. The report finds that even though our legal service providers have doubled the number of staff and the number of clients they serve through full representation, the mounting legal needs of district residents continue to outpace resources that are available to meet those needs. As you can imagine, many of these needs have only increased because the numbers I have cited were before the pandemic. And the strains, the stresses of the pandemic have increased the burdens on legal service providers and the needs of people who desperately need legal representation. By the way, the numbers that I have cited refer to the District of Columbia, but they're not unique. They're a reflection of what happens throughout the country. So wherever you're from, and wherever you might be going to practice, if not in the District of Columbia, there will be unmet legal needs that should be very sobering to you. Now, that is the bad news, but there is also good news, and you are part of it. Lawyers of the District of Columbia Bar have a long tradition of providing pro bono legal services to the economically disadvantaged. As a result, there are many programs for pro bono service available through the DC Bar, also through voluntary bar associations and law firms. They run the gamut from helping one person navigate a claim for disability compensation, to representing an abused or neglected child, to assisting an immigrant seeking asylum from persecution in another country. You might be helping a person sort through what appears to a layperson to be an incomprehensible and devastating problem. But with your legal skills, you could help resolve what are many times fairly minor knots that can nonetheless tie up a person's life. Or you could end up writing an appellate brief for a person on death row. Another way is through service to the courts by volunteering to take over representation of pro se litigants in civil litigation. Cases handled represent the broad spectrum of litigation in the District of Columbia at the trial and appellate levels, and include cases brought by prisoners, workplace and domestic disputes, and administrative cases, among others. I urge you to consider how you can help represent a person in need. You can obtain information from the DC Bar's Pro Bono Committee or through the Pro Bono website, which is online. Explore these options or come up with your own. If you end up practicing in another jurisdiction, see what you can do there because they need you. But in your practice, carry on this bar's outstanding tradition of service. When you do, you will realize that you will be gaining much for yourself as well. Many of us, and I include myself and other judges, look back over our professional careers and what we have accomplished. And sometimes we wonder whether the many sacrifices were worth it. Often we find that the most satisfying work professionally and personally were the efforts made in cases we handled on a pro bono basis. It reminds all of us that notwithstanding caricatures of lawyers as self-dealing and egocentric, all those lawyer jokes, that law can indeed be a noble profession that furthers values of fairness and justice that we hold dear. These are the values that motivated many of us to study law in the first place. Don't forget them. You can further them in your career. And speaking of what is important as you go forward, have a life outside your law practice, a rich personal life with your friends and your family. It's hard to do that now, but find ways to spend time with them that keep them safe and that keep you safe. They have supported you and helped you during your law studies. They will hear you complain often enough about the long hours at work, wherever you're working from, and about the difficulties of the job market. But have a life. Being a lawyer is a terrific thing, but it is not the only thing. On behalf of the District of Columbia Court of Appeals, I welcome you to the Bar of the District of Columbia, and I wish you the best in your practice here. And with this, we conclude today's swearing-in ceremony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you save it? You don't save it at home.
The shit. Ah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations on your admission. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Everyone.